Hello, this is the Couch Kumara, and I'm going to do something completely different because I've had this, let's say, question in mind for a long time, 3 years or more, right? Because of my life experiences, personal experiences, where I was at a work finding agency, okay, and I get on with people really, really well. I'm a Maori, got light brown skin. Yeah, I detest racism, anything to do with racism. So I'm not a racist. Okay, I'm not anti-Semite, as some may try to label me. Some have tried to, right, unfairly. But at this work employment agency, I was getting along with a lot of people there, right? But there was a certain people, maybe 3, 4. Yeah, the fifth one, he wasn't so bad. Yeah, I'd say there was 4 of them, for argument's sake. Yeah, we're having a conversation. One sitting across me was like albino looking. I gather he was Jewish. Okay. And there's a couple of other ones around me. I didn't really have any problem with them, any problems from them at that point. But I was talking with an Indian girl, and then I guess I'm not really sure how the word Jew or Jews came up, but the next day I came in, I was pulled into the staff office, the admin, right, and they says, "Oh, we've got a problem. Someone complained that you have been anti-Semitic, talking about Jews or something." But they let slip that it was a she, right, a female. So I knew exactly who it was. I actually thought it was this guy that was sitting across from me because he sort of like looked dodgy, right? Like he was like hanging on every word that he'd say during this conversation. Because you're reading the newspaper and you're looking for a job and you talk at the same time. Sometimes it was just a time filler, you know. Yeah, yes, I thought it was that guy. And he ran and he cried to the administration, the staff there. But it turned out to be, yeah, I realised it turned out to be this Indian girl, right? Yeah, so that wasn't so bad. Right, he says, "Oh, you know, just be careful because they got offended." Yeah, because I was like, it's a she, I gotcha, right? Yeah, this nice lady, she, yeah, she explained it to me, it just turned down. So, went back in there the next day, or that day, and a guy came in that I'd befriended the day before, and I don't know, I was telling him about, I pulled up for talking about Jews or something. Came up in a conversation. There's like 3 or 4 of us sitting at the table, and this Indian girl pimped on me, right? And he starts saying, "The Jews, this, that," right? She said, "No, tone it down, man, because if you say that, you get pulled into the office and you go through the same crap that I went through, right? Same telling off." He goes, Jews, right? Okay. So and he starts going on with these conspiracy theories, or whatever. So I'm like, you know, calm, mellow. I got no problem with them. And I had, let me show you, where are they? I've got one of these wrist things on here. Sometimes they had advertising on it, like, you know, got some over here. You've got a couple over here, right, black, green, whatever. One of them's got, I found had McDonald's on it, the World Blacks, that's, yeah, World Blacks New Zealand, it's people in wheelchairs that play basketball, right? You probably can't see it, but it's like a thing goes on your wrist here, right? Bit of a decoration. And I found one somewhere, a McDonald's one, right? Promoting McDonald's, but I think it's all faded, right? And I got another one, yellow and green or something like that, okay? So to get to the point, me and my youngest daughter went to an international world international fair up the road from us, and it had like all different kinds of Ethiopian, Chinese, Israeli, whatever, foods, right? It's an world international event, and it's all free. well, you got to pay for the food and all that sort of stuff, which is quite expensive. So we were walking around and come across this Israel stand, and it had on the "I love Israel," and apparently these wrist things were free. So she grabbed one, I grabbed one, and I've been wearing it around all weekend, right? And then I was at an employment centre, and I was sitting there reading a newspaper trying to find a job, and this older lady comes up and she goes, "No, you don't." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "No, you don't." I was like, "What are you on about?" You know, because the way she came up behind me, stuck up behind me, sort of thing. It's pretty creepy. And she says, "No, you don't." And I said, "Well, what are you on about?" And she says, because of this wristband thing that I had "I love Israel." And she goes, "No, you don't." And I went, "Well, it's just a band that we got for free from this international world market thing, right? Yeah, festival, okay? Free food and all that sort of stuff. Literature, yeah, and yeah, I respect Israel." "No, you don't." And she started harping on. She said, "I'm a Zionist," and like, I don't know, I just seem to get bad vibes off these people, these kind of people, right? And there was another guy, a married guy, that was into Judaism. I don't know how he got into that, but he had, I said to him, "Oh, what's with all the bread?" He goes, "Oh, the Passover," or something like that. And then I was sitting with another guy, and I think this guy was Jewish, right? And me and this other guy were talking, coming up about Jesus, you know, Christianity, whatever. And this guy goes, "Why are you talking about that guy for? Blah, blah, blah." Just nothing off, right? And I was like, "What's your problem?" And he goes, "Are you talking about Jesus? You're just a puppet, a parrot that's parroting, you know, blah, blah, blah." She says, "Well, you know, we're just having a conversation. What's your problem?" I say, "Yeah, I realised looking at this guy, he was Jewish, right? I got no problem with Jews. I'm not anti-Semitic, so you don't go there. I don't believe in anti-Semitism or racism or whatever like that, right? So don't go there." He's just started nutting off at me. And then this guy with the bread that I asked about all the bread, he said, "I'll pass over, blah, blah, blah." Later on, he said to me, "Why the do you want to talk about that bastard, blah, 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 all about Jesus Christ," right? And putting him down. I said, "Oh, what's the problem?" And he's just like totally angry, you know? But I just seem to get these vibes of these Zionists in particular, not Jews, because I've met a few people that are Jews and they're really nice, right? So no, I'm not anti-Semitic, right? So there's a difference here between the Jews and this Zionist group. So that's the problem. I think it's what the problem is. People blame all Jews. Like a guy I was chatting to on a social chat site, Christian thing. It's from Christian Identity, and goes on about the Jews all the time. He says, "Oh, they're Satan, you know, they're satanic. They're the synagogue of Satan, according to Revelations 2:1-2 or something like that, or 2:9. Yeah, I think it's 2:9, and all this sort of stuff." And he's got all these like propaganda, hate pictures, images up on his profile there, right? All that sort of stuff. Yeah, so So for a while I'm like, what the hell is anti-Semitism? You know, why do they say that I'm like a bigot, prejudiced, racist, all that sort of stuff if I mention the word Jew, the history of the Jew, or something about a Jew, if I even say that word, right? So I'm looking online today, okay, because I'm not afraid to talk about anything. Okay, I was in Scientology for about a year, and basically they teach you, you go up the steps or whatever, and they teach you, you know, you come to the point where you can talk to anybody about anything. Okay, so it's like, what the hell is anti-Semitism? So I'm looking it up to define it for this video, and I'm at Encyclopedia Britannica because I found one on International Jewry, and I was talking to this guy on this same chat site with the Christian Identity guy, right? And this guy starts starting off at me saying I'm anti-Semite and all that, because the Encyclopedia Britannica says that it's it gives the definition, but says they're into they actually made a statement that they want to push New World Order. They want to rule the world. It's in the Britannica. Okay, I can't find it at the moment, but that statement was there, right? And so this guy kept hounding me and saying, "Oh, you're anti-Semitic, you're racist, with this and that." And I was like, how the hell can I be that when I'm a brown-skinned man, right? You know, why would I want to be racist? Who am I racist against? Oh, against the Jews and stuff like that. And I thought, well, you can't even say the word Jew, and you're deemed anti-Semitic, right? And racist and prejudiced and bigoted, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm having a look at it, see what it actually means. Okay, Britannica, which is I think they said it was a 250-year-old encyclopedia, so it's world renowned, right? It's popular, okay, it's famous, and it says here anti-Semitism, hostility toward or discrimination against Jews, a religious or racial group. Okay, a religious or racial group, obviously Jewish related, right? The term anti-Semitism was coined. Okay, it was coined in 1879 by the German agitator Wilhelm Marr to designate the anti-Jewish campaigns underway in Central Europe at that time. Although the term now has wide currency, it is a misnomer. What's a misnomer? Shall we go to find it with? Okay. Let's have a look at misnomer. Should we come up here? Misnomer. Okay. Wikipedia. A misnomer is a name that is incorrectly or unsuitably applied. Misnomers often arise because something was named long before its correct nature was known, or because an earlier form or something has been replaced by something to which the name no longer applies. That's one definition. Some will say, oh, that's Wikipedia, blah, blah, blah. Well, we'll go to another one. The Free Dictionary. It doesn't really explain it there. Collins Dictionary. If you say that a word or name is a misnomer, you mean that it describes something. Okay. Legal Dictionary, act of using a wrong name. Misnomers may be considered with regard to contracts, to devices and bequests. Okay, it's not one that I don't think that applies to it. Okay, to the definition I'm looking for. Okay, there's a Legal Dictionary again. Definition of misnomer by Oxford Dictionary. The latter designation is a misnomer because a mild degree of ketosis often is presented, blah blah blah. I think it really tells me much. A misnomer is a wrong or unsuitable name. It's a misnomer to call your grandfather. Yeah. The same way it's a misnomer to call a chair with 4 legs that doesn't move unless you drag it across the floor a rocking chair. The Free Dictionary. Misnomer meaning, definitions. What is another word for misnomer? Okay, contradiction, inaccuracy, inaccurate term, and so forth. Okay, there's lots of definitions here. So we'll go have a look at the etymology, because you've got to establish it. We've got to define the meaning, sorry, of that word being used. Etymology of misnomer. It's the origin of that word. Let's have a look here. Okay. Misnomer. It's a noun. Mid-15th century in law. It's used in law. An error in the name, mistaken identification of an accused or convicted person. From Anglo-French, Old French, misnomer, etc. We'll have a look up. Okay, meaning, act of applying a wrong name or designation. This is from the 1630s. Okay. So we'll have a look at this word while we're here. No rights were found. Okay, we'll try that. Okay, anti-Semitism. It's a noun, so it's what, a naming word. Also, anti-Semitism, 1881, from German anti-Semitismus, first used by Wilhelm Marr, 1819 to 1904, German radical, nationalist and race agitator who founded the Anti-Semitism Liga in 1879. Not not etymologically restricted to anti-Jewish theories, actions, or political, but almost always used in this sense. Those who object to the inaccuracy of the term might try Herman Adler's Judeophobia, 1881. Anti-Semite, also anti-Semitic, and anti-Semite, also anti-Semite, also are from 1881. Like anti-Semitism, they appear first in English in an article in the Athenian of September 31 in reference to German literature. Jew hatred is attested from 1881. As an adjective, anti-Jewish is from 1817. Related entries and more. Look at that. I really want to get to the bottom of it. Okay, nothing really there. But yeah, it's basically saying that, if you speak out, say anything about Jews, you're an anti-Semite, you're prejudiced, you're racist. It's a derogative term, statement. Yeah. If you just say the word Jew in a conversation, some get offended and start pointing the finger at you, you're anti-Semite, when you're not. Okay, so get rid of these. Okay, here, where are we? Antisemitism.org. What is anti-Semitism? In 2005, the European Union Monitoring Centre on Racism and Xenophobia, EUMC, now the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights, FRA, adopted a working definition of anti-Semitism, which has become the standard definition used around the world, including by the European Parliament, the UK College of Policing, the US Department of State, the US Senate, and the 31 countries comprising the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. In 2016, the powerful House of Commons Home Affairs Committee joined campaign against anti-Semitism, long-standing call for the British government and its agencies, as well as all political parties, to formally adopt international definition of anti-Semitism, following which the British government formally adopted the definition. Campaign against anti-Semitism also uses the international definition of anti-Semitism. Okay, it goes on there. Goes on some more. International definition of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and their property. So it's directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals. Okay, so it's not exclusively toward the Jews. Yeah. And or their property, toward Jewish community, institutions, and religious facilities. Manifestations might include the targeting of the State of Israel, conceiving as a Jewish collectivity. However, criticism of Israel, similar to that levelled against any other country, cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism frequently charges Jews with conspiring to harm humanity, and it is often used to blame Jews for why things go wrong. It is expressed in speech, writing, visual forms, and action, and employs sinister stereotypes and negative character traits. Okay, because a lot of people that think, because they're all Jews, every Jew, because of Revelations 2:9 or whatever, are evil, satanic, of the devil, all that sort of stuff. But I find that I get bad vibes of people that are into Zionists. They just give me bad vibes. That's some areas that brown people can pick up bad vibes. There's something wrong with this person, right? And then someone sneaks up behind you and goes, because you got a bracelet on your arm saying "I love Israel." No, you don't. No, you don't. And they're pretty snidey. You got to experience it to know. Okay, but again, I'm not anti-Semitic, not prejudiced, not racist, not bigoted. Okay, I don't believe in any of that crap. And if I was, would I be reading from a supposed original translation of the Aramaic, Galilean Aramaic, of that Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples spoke and wrote in, right? Would I be even bothering to communicate with a native-born Mesopotamian Jew, okay, who speaks Aramaic, who's a filmmaker and translator, would I even bother? No, because if I was bigoted, prejudiced, anti-Semite, right, then yeah, if I gave him a hard time, then yeah, sure, that's what I am, right? But I'm not, okay? Okay, I regard this guy as a lovely old man, right? And I used to communicate with him via email, yeah. So yeah, I have no problem with him. I met a couple in Auckland, Queen Street. Obviously they're Jewish, and yeah, sometimes they get a bit wide, because you read the scriptures and they got their perspective, right? Yeah, they get a little hot, but that's it. They don't start calling you anti-Semite and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, some organisations are like that. They'll block your video or take it down because you're talking about Jews. But yeah, it's all here. All the information is here, right? Okay, all of it here. And then there's another one. Okay, I think I've already covered this one. Okay, at Britannica. Just the definition there. Oh, just came from that one. And then you have this, the protocols of the elders, the learned elders of Zion, right? Okay, according to the definition I found about supposedly in the Britannica Encyclopedia, it defines international Jewry as those financial bankers who want to take over the world. Okay, they're all supposedly Zionists. So yeah, that faction is the problem, right? That faction, if they have that sort of plan to do that, right? And deceive you, trick you, whatever, all that sort of stuff, right? That faction is the problem, not the rest of the Jewish nation, the people, that are into Judaism, all that sort of stuff. You can't blame all of them. That's like saying all black people are thieves, all Maoris are thieves, right? That all white people are racist when they're not. It's just a stereotype. It's just an assumption. Okay? But you're labelling all of them as that when you're not. Okay, so yeah, there's this book here, the supposedly the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, right? And it's been poo-pooed as a Russian forgery or this sort of stuff. But some people say no, this guy's proven it. He's written about it, proven it, all that sort of stuff. Okay, well, it's on another video here, another website here, right? From a guy from New Zealand I've never heard of, but apparently, yeah, he's been voicing his claims right all over the place and getting in trouble for it. So yeah, I've got this protocols of the learned elders of Zion. We'll have a peek. We'll just make it a bit bigger so we can see it. See what it says. Okay, this is a copy of that supposed book, Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, or Learned Elders Zion, translated from the Russian of Nihilus by Victor E. Marsden, late Russian correspondent of the Morning Post. Professor Nihilus was a priest in the Orthodox Church in Russia. He published the first Russian language edition in 1905. In his introduction he says that a manuscript had been handed to him about 4 years before by a friend who vouched that it was true, a true translation of an original document stolen by a woman from one of the most influential and highly initiated leaders of Freemasonry. At the end of a meeting of the initiated in France, that nest of Jewish Masonic conspiracies, Nihilus adds that the protocols are not exactly minutes of meetings but a report with a part apparently missing, made by some powerful person. Nihilus admits the impossibility of producing written or oral proof of the authenticity of this document and says that we must be satisfied with the circumstantial evidence which abounds. In January 1971, Nihilus had prepared a second edition, but before it could take place, it could be put on the market, the revolution of March 1917 had taken place, and Kerensky ordered the whole edition to be destroyed. Later, Nihilus was arrested by the Bolshevik Cheka, imprisoned and tortured. He was exiled and died in Vladimir on 13th January 1929. Okay, so that's a bit of history there about this guy, Professor Nihilus. He was a priest in the Orthodox Church. So if he was into Jesus Christ, all that sort of stuff, then wouldn't he be an honest guy? But yeah, not all priests, not all Christians or whatever are honest, are they? They're actors, role players, just want to look good, was it wolves in sheep's clothing? Oh yeah, but yeah, you have to do the history on this guy and find out, was he the real deal as an Orthodox priest, right, in the Orthodox Church, as a priest in the Orthodox Church in Russia in that era. Okay, you have to do your you have to do your own research and establish the fact that he was a bad-ass guy or a good-ass guy, right, the real deal, right. Let the evidence prove itself. Okay, and hopefully it becomes infallible, irrefutable. Some people would debunk it, but they can't deny it if it's an established fact that he was a great priest, or a good priest, with the Lord Jesus Christ, in the Orthodox Church in Russia. Okay, you've got to do your homework. Okay, so we'll go to the next page, see what it says. This is the history of it. Okay, where are we? Copy. Silly thing. Okay, and this is the guy that might have translated it. I wonder if we can actually make it bigger. A little small there. Yeah, that's better. Okay, you can read it in your own time, your own leisure, and get it at archive.org. Have a look at it. Victor E. Marsden, the translator of the famous protocols, was himself of the revolution in Russia. He had lived there for many years and was married to a Russian lady. As Russia corresponded to the Morning Post, his fearless description of the events in 1917 incurred the anger of the Soviet. He was arrested and thrown into the Peterpol prison. When he was finally allowed to return to England after 2 years, his health had been seriously affected. One of his first tasks as soon as he was able was this translation of the protocols, which necessitated many hours' work at the British Museum. He later became the Morning Post special correspondent in the suite of HRH, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, on his Empire tour, but within a few days of his return from the tour he died after a brief illness. Because the way they treated him probably made him really, really ill. Okay, preface. Victor E. Marsden, the author of this translation of the famous protocols, was himself a victim of the revolution. He had lived for many years in Russia and was married to a Russian lady. Among his other activities in Russia, he had been for a number of years Russian correspondent of the Morning Post, a position which he occupied when the revolution broke out, and his vivid descriptions of events in Russia will still be in the recollection of many of the readers of that journal. Naturally, he was singled out for the anger of the Soviet on the day that Captain Cromley, I don't know, it's hard to say, I think it's Cromley, was murdered by Jews. Victor Marsden was arrested and thrown into the Peterpol prison. I've already read this, expecting every day to have his name called out for execution. However, he escaped, and eventually he was allowed to return to England, very much of a wreck in bodily health. However, he recovered under treatment and the devoted care of his wife and friends. One of the first things he undertook, as soon as he was able was this translation of the protocols. Mr. Marsden was eminently well qualified for the work. His intimate acquaintance with Russian life and literary English style on the other place, with Russian life and the Russian language on the one hand, and its mastery of a terse literary English style on the other hand, placed him in a position of advantage which few others could claim. The consequence is that we have his version of an eminently readable work, and though the subject matter is somewhat formless, Mr. Marsden's literary touch reveals the thread running through the 24th protocols, and it goes on and on. The summary placed at the head of each is Mr. Marsden's own and will be found very useful in acquiring a comprehensive view of its scope. It may be said with truth that this work was carried out at the cost of Mr. Marsden's own life's blood. He told the writer of the preface that he could not stand more than an hour at a time of his work on it in the British Museum, as the diabolical spirit of the matter which he was obliged to turn into English made him positively ill. Probably just the thought of what it contained, by the sounds of it. Get me out of the way for a second. Mr. Marsden's connection with the Morning Post was not severely. Let's put me on the other side. Was not. Mr. Marsden's connection with the Morning Post was not severely. Not severed by his return to England, and he was well enough to accept the post of special correspondent of that journal in the suite of 8. Sure, I've read that bit. Yeah, may this work be his own crowning monument. In it he has performed an immense service to the English-speaking world, and there can be little doubt that it will take its place in the first rank of the English version of the protocols of the meetings of the learned elders of Zion. Brief on that one. Okay, introduction 1922. Of the protocols themselves, little need to be said in the way of an introduction. The book in which they are embedded was published by Sergei Nihilus in Russia in 1905. A copy of this is in the British Museum, bearing the date of its reception, August 10, 1906. All copies that were known to exist in Russia were destroyed in the Kerensky regime, and under his successors the possession of a copy by anyone in Soviet land was crime sufficient to ensure the owners being shot on sight. The fact is in itself sufficient proof of the genuineness of the protocols. The Jewish journals of course say that they are a forgery, leaving it to be understood that Professor Nihilus, who embodied them in a work of his own hand, had concocted them for his own purposes. Mr. Henry Ford, didn't he make the invent the Ford car, etc., etc. Very famous businessman in America. Mr. Henry Ford, in an interview published in the New York World, February 17, 1921, put the case for Nihilus tersely and convincingly thus: the only statement I care to make about the protocols is that they fit in with what is going on. They are 16 years old, and they have fitted the world situation up to this time. They fit it now. Indeed they do. The word protocol signifies a precise, is it supposed to be precise? Gummed onto the front of a document, a draft on a document, minutes of proceedings. In this instant, protocol means minutes of the proceedings of the meetings of the learned elders of Zion. These protocols give the substance of addresses delivered to the innermost circle of the rulers of Zion. They reveal the concerted plan of action of the Jewish nation, developed through the ages and edited by the elders themselves up to date. So that's like he's saying here, it's all to do with the Jewish nation. I given the benefit of the doubt, I think it's to do with the Zion story, not so much the entire Jewish nation. But if he's got proof here, we'll find it. Okay, goes on a bit here. The claim of the Jews that the protocols are forgeries is in itself an admission of their genuineness. It's like it's being repeated, for they never attempt to answer the facts corresponding to the threats which the protocols contain, and indeed the correspondence between prophecy and fulfillment is too glaring to be set aside or obscured. This the Jews well know and therefore invade. Yeah, are these the original Jews? Well, these are like the Khazarian, those European Jews that adopted Jewry, right? And then they ended up being the ones in the state of Israel today. It's just a difference, isn't it? Is the Mesopotamians, the Judeans, The word Jew came from the first two letters of their name. When they were Yahudians and then translated into Judaism. Judean, right? Supposedly. Do your research on that one? The presumption is strong that the protocols were issued or reissued at the first Zionist Congress held at Basel in 1897 under the presidency of the father of modern Zionism, the late Theodor Herzl. There has been recently published a volume of Herzl's diaries, a translation of some passages of which appeared in the Jewish Chronicle of July 14, 1922. Herzl gives an account of his first visit to England in 1895 and his conversation with Colonel Goldsmid, a Jew brought up as a Christian and officer in the English army, and at heart a Jew nationalist all the time. Goldsmid suggested to Herzl that the best way of expropriating the English aristocracy and so destroying their power to protect the people of England against Jew domination was to put excessive taxes on the land. Herzl thought this is an excellent idea, and it is now to be found definitely embodied in Protocol 6. The above extract from Herzl's diary is an extremely significant bit of evidence bearing on the existence of the Jew world plot and authenticity of the protocols, but any reader of intelligence will be able from his own knowledge of recent history and from his own experience to confirm the genuineness of every line of them, and it is in the light of this living comment that all readers are invited to study Mr. Marsden's translation of this terribly inhumane document. And here is another very significant circumstance. The present successor of Herzl as leader of the Zionist movement, Dr. Weizmann, quoted one of these sayings at the send-off banquet given to Chief Rabbi Herzl on October 6, 1920. The Chief Rabbi was on the point of leaving for his Empire Tour, a sort of Jewish answer to the Empire Tour of HRH, His Royal Highness, not HRH puff and stuff, the Prince of Wales. And this is the saying of the sages which Dr. Weizmann quoted: a beneficent protection which God has instituted in the life of the Jew is that He has dispersed him all over the world. Jewish Guardian, October 8, 1929. Now compare this with the last clause but one of Protocol. The Protocol 11. And from this, which appears to all eyes to be our weakness. Oh my gosh. God has granted to us as chosen people the gift of dispersion. And from this, which appears to all eyes to be our weakness, has come forth all our strength, which has now been brought us to the threshold of sovereignty over all the world. I think I need a drink of water. The remarkable correspondence between these passages proves several things. It proves that the learned elders exist. It proves that Dr. Weizmann knows all about them. It proves that the desire for a national home in Palestine is only camouflage and infinitesimal part of the Jews' real object. It proves that the Jews of the world have no intention of settling in Palestine or have any separate country, and that their annual prayer that they may all meet next year in Jerusalem is merely a piece of their characteristic make-believe. It also demonstrates that the Jews are now a world menace, and that the Aryan races will have to domicile them permanently out of Europe. Who are the elders? This is a secret which has not been revealed. They are the hidden, and they are not the Board of Deputies, the Jewish Parliament in England, or the Universal Israelite Alliance, which I think it says sits, I'm not really sure, in Paris. But the late Walter Rathenau of the Allgemeine Gesellschaft German has thrown a little light on the subject, and doubtless he was in possession of their names, being in all likelihood one of the chief leaders himself, writing in the Wiener Freie Press. I guess that's something, Free Press. December 24th, 1912, he said, 300 men, each of whom knows all others, govern the fate of the European continent, and they elect their successor from the and entourage. A 15th century protocol. And it goes on there. Okay. There's a lot of information here. You can read it yourself in your own leisure. Okay, looking for these protocols. What they actually say. Okay, here's the protocols of the meetings of the learned elders of Zion. Protocol 1, right, lies, and might. And so, for more information here. What I am about to set forth then is our system from the 2 points of view, that of ourselves and that of the Goyim, i.e. non-Jews. It must be noted that men with bad instincts are more in number than the good, and therefore the best results in governing them are attained by violence and terrorization, and not by academic discussions. Every man aims at power. Everyone would like to become a dictator, if only he could, and rare indeed are the men who would not be willing to sacrifice the welfare of all for the sake of securing their own welfare. What has restrained the beasts of prey, who are called men? What has served for their guidance hitherto? In the beginnings of the structure of society, they were subjected to brutal and blind force, afterwards to law, which is the same force, only disguised. I draw the conclusion that by the law of nature, rights lie in force. Okay. What's this? Political freedom is an idea, but not a fact. Okay. And there's plenty more here. Okay, I might actually get rid of me for a minute. Some more there. I actually remember one, I'd read this before, but just the list that they're given us non-Jew, the Goyim, a false religion. So why I'm reading this is because basically I've got this funny feeling looking at some rabbis. They got all this information out there, and they're putting out all this information, and they're like poo-pooing Christianity. They're saying, oh, you know, the Hebrew actually says this, the Torah says this, the Tanakh says that, right? And yet I found that one in particular actually has a sordid history. Okay, he's very, very popular. I've done a video on it. Okay. According to a woman that he associated with, he was like standing there for 2 or 3 hours or whatever early in the morning, looking at her daughter, 16-year-old or 15-year-old or 16-year-old daughter, lying on the couch, right? And she sort of had her eye open. She told her mother, "Oh, he's creepy," you know. So the mother tried to get rid of him, but he wouldn't leave, and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if it was while he was overseas in Indonesia or somewhere like that, but he wouldn't leave, and all of a sudden he's back in the state of Israel. Okay, yeah, I don't know if he'll cover that on his channel. Okay, some more of the protocols. Protocol 4. What's this? Protocol 5. The super government. monopolies. Upon them depend the fortunes of the Goyim, the non-Jew, taking of the land out of the hands of the aristocracy. That's like the British Empire, etc. Checking the oppositions of the Goyim, the non-Jews, by wars and by universal war. Secrecy means success in the political, the press and public opinion. The guns of America, China and Japan. What's that? False theories and interpretations of law. There's a lot of information here. A lot of information. But you yourselves perfectly well know that to produce the possibility of the expression of such wishes by all the nations, it is indispensable to trouble in all countries the people's relations with their governments, so as to utterly exhaust humanity with dissension, hatred, struggle, envy, and even by the use of tortures, by starvation, by the inoculation of diseases, by want, so that the Goyim or non-Jews see no other issue than to take refuge in our complete sovereignty in money and all else. New World Order, total power of everyone over everyone, the entire world, financial bankers, apparently. So this program of the new constitution, certain details of the proposed revolution, the Goyim, non-Jews, a pack of sheep, secret masonry in its show, lodges. Okay. Wow, there's a hell of a lot of information here. Okay. What's this? Okay, here we go. The religion of the future. What's that? Don't know what that word is. Future. Conditions of serfdom, inaccessibility of knowledge regarding the religion of the future, pornography and the printed matter of the future. When we come into our kingdom, it will be undesirable for us that there should exist any other religion than ours, of the one God with whom our destiny is bound up by our position as the chosen people. It's protocol number 14. Okay. And through whom our same destiny is united with the destinies of the world. We must therefore sweep away all other forms of belief. If this gives birth to the atheists whom we see today, it will not, being a transitional stage, interfere with our views, but will serve as a warning for those generations which will hearken to our preaching of the religion of Moses, that by its stable and thoroughly elaborated system has brought all the people of the world into our subjection to us. Therein we shall emphasize its mystical right, on which, as we shall say, all its educative power is based. Then at every possible opportunity we shall publish articles in which we shall make comparisons between our beneficent rule and those of past ages, and so forth. Okay, our position is a chosen people. Their position is chosen people. Okay, go through this all day. Okay, scroll up. what's this? Advocacy, influence of the priesthood of the Goyim, non-Jews, freedom of conscience, papal court, king of the Jews as patriarch pope, how to fight the existing church. Okay. What's this? Look at this. Okay, we have long past taken care to discredit the priesthood of the Goyim, non-Jew, and thereby to ruin their mission on earth, which in these days might still be a great hindrance to us. Day by day its influence on the peoples of the world is falling lower. Freedom of conscience has been declared everywhere, so that now only years divide us from the moment of the complete wrecking of that Christian religion. See, Hitler knew of this, and he wanted to stop it. Okay? As he wanted it to, Christianity to last forever, but certain people wanted to get rid of it altogether. As to other religions, we shall have still less difficulty in dealing with them, but it would be premature to speak of this now. We shall set clericalism and clericals into such narrow frames as to make their influence move in retrogressive proportion to its former progress. Okay, when the time comes finally to destroy the papal court, the finger of an invisible hand will point the nations toward this court. When, however, the nations fling themselves upon it, we shall come forward in the guise of its defenders, as if to save excessive bloodshed. By this diversion we shall penetrate to its very bowels, and be sure we shall never come out again until we have gnawed through the entire strength of this place. The king of the Jews will be the real pope of the universe, the patriarch of an international church. It's a worldwide church, right? But in the meantime, while we are re-educating youth in new traditional religions, and afterwards in ours, we shall not overtly lay a finger on existing churches, but we shall fight against them by criticism calculated to produce schism. What's this? Our kingdom will be an apology of the divinity Vishnu, in whom is found its personification, and our 100 hands will be. What the hell? Okay, I think I might leave it here because it's going to be pretty lengthy. Secret defense of the king of the Jews. Let's see. A lot of information here. A lot of information and a lot of reading. The secret of what is coming, the evil of many centuries, the foundation of future well-being, the aureole of power and its mystical worship. Isn't it to do with the breasts? Well, that's maybe another word. Sorry about that. Surely there is no need to seek further proof that our rule is predestined by God. Confirming the roots of King David, chaining of the king, setting aside of direct ears. The king in 3. Yeah, so what's this? Emblem on top. Oh, the manifesto. Emblem on top. The tablets of Moses a little lower. Two extended hands clasping each other, and as basis of the whole, the globe of the earth. Motto: all Jews for one, one for all. The fatal discourse of Rabbi Reichhorn. No idea who that is. I guess I'd have to read some more of this. What the hell was that? I just saw something about Jews and Muslims. A Jew will under no circumstance become the friend of a Christian or a Muslim before the moment arrives when the light of the Jewish faith, the only religion of reason, will shine all over the world. Okay. Our nationality is the religion of our fathers, and we recognize no other nationality. Okay, it's all there. So it sounds like it's a certain sect. It's not all Jews. It's a certain sect, Zionism. The fulfillment of the prophecies, 1923. The God who promised to give all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them to his worshippers, we know he is the God of Judas, of Herod, and of Cain. Okay, so there's a lot of information still there. Been here all day. Get back here, so about Christian rules. What's this? Something about a bank. Thanks to the terrible power of this bank, Jews have forced Christians into wars without number, culminating in the Great War. Wars have this special value for Jews, that Christians massacre each other and make more room for the chosen people. Yeah, get rid of all the non-Jews, Christians, etc. None left. So there's only Jews. Yeah, sounds like it. Sword here. The Jews' bank grows fat on the wars of Christians. Okay. Yeah, there's so much information here, but I think I might leave it. That's it. Yeah, so basically I was trying to figure out, when people point the finger at me and say I'm anti-Semitic, racist, bigoted, prejudiced, all that sort of stuff. Why? Because I say the word Jew, or I see the real history of a certain person, right? His country was, their economy was crap, his people were starving, he loved his people, right? He came out and said that, and like say, one man in amongst 50,000, I don't know what the actual population was at the time of 1930. One man stood up, he had the biggest cojones, and says, enough's enough. My country for my countrymen. And he did something about it, right? Yeah, he was a good strategist, but he went silly, towards the end. His bully boys were the ones that suggested stuff. And he says, well, okay, it sounds like it's going to work. Go do it. They did it. Right. And yeah, there was no need for that. Starving people, all that sort of stuff. Overworking them, just being totally mean to them. They had their agenda, their propaganda, or whatever. But yeah, I don't condone what they did. But then I don't condone what the Russians did to them. When they came into the country, it did far worse to them. And I don't condone that these people that suffered their generation, like 2 generations later, like demanding reparation from America and stuff like that. Yeah, they weren't even there. They're saying we suffered and they weren't even there. You know, and 2 generations later. Okay, so hopefully you liked this video. If you did, please leave your comments in the comment section below. If you didn't, well, be mature about it. If you're an adult, be an adult. Okay, feel free to express your opinions, your perspectives, your views. Yeah, but name calling and stuff won't be tolerated. Okay. Yeah, give us a thumbs up and tickle that bell for the next exciting video. Yeah, I'm wondering what's going to happen with this. I got a funny feeling, but I got to see what happens. Okay, have a nice day. Yeah, so yeah, to put it again, I'm not anti-Semite. I don't hate Jews, right? I'm not racist, prejudiced, biased, whatever. Okay, where's my webcam thing? Okay, here we go. Here I am. This is what I look like. I'm brown skinned Mary from New Zealand. Oh yeah, I forgot about this other thing I've got to show you too. So yeah, because how can I be if I'm reading a Mesopotamian Jews translation of the original Aramaic, Assyrian Aramaic Esdras, New Testament in his translation of the Assyrian Aramaic Kitab Esdras. Yeah. So yeah, don't go there. Okay, so this is what a guy in New Zealand, before I go, has actually been saying, right? I just found it online about an hour ago. Okay. This guy, what's his name? Billy Tikahika, right? What's this? Interactives.stuff.co.nz. You can look at the article yourself. Okay, it says it's trustworthy, accurate, and reliable news stories are more important now than ever. Support the newsroom by making a contribution. Okay, he's got a contribution button there. This what's his name again? Billy Tikahika, is it? Yeah, Billy Tikahika. Yeah, let's see what he says. He's declared 5G a bioengineering virus, and that the United Nations is inspired by satanic teachings. But as Billy Tikahika's wilder conspiracies grabbed headlines, his rhetoric touched on a darker subject. On June 4, Billy Tikahika took to Facebook Live, as he regularly does, to deliver a sermon to his devotees. Okay. By now, these prayer studies are nothing new. In May, Tikahika went viral with videos that weave scripture: 5G, COVID-19, Harry Potter, vaccines, the Labour government, Bill Gates, and the UN into narratives or sinister plots to corrupt and control the world. But this live broadcast is different. The first sign is a poor attempt at a Hebrew greeting. Was he trying to say shalom or something? Something like that. He got it all wrong. The build-up is slow as the flock appears one by one on his screen. He thanks them all for being there, addressing them by name in the soft voice of a preacher speaking to a child. It's only by minute 5 that his audience discovers what's been on Tikahika's mind. I guess he states, I want to talk to you about how the nation of Israel was formed. Not many people know about it. You can watch the documentary. For the next hour, in a video seen by more than 5,000, the leader of the New Zealand Public Party, you've heard of it, spins a story about the Jewish nation using historical half-truths and debunked documents. He enlightens his audience about its connection to a satanic conspiracy and a global plan to engineer a third world war. He's at pains to coat the language, expressing love for his Israeli whānau. It's a Maori for family. New Zealand indigenous people, Maori, for family, as whānau, and asserting that although the Jews killed Jesus, well, they didn't. Actually, they just pushed. They pushed because he was a threat to their power, right? Their authority, right? And they saw him as a threat, so they want to get rid of him. Okay? And they say, oh, he blasphemed, he's called himself God, all this sort of stuff. He's saying that Israel, the Jews killed Jesus when the Romans, because of the pressure of the Jews. If you are friends with Caesar, you'll execute this Christ, this blasphemer. Okay, asserting that although the Jews killed Jesus, it's only the Zionists, those Jews behind the nation of Israel, that are the real threat. Yeah, well, that's financial bankers, isn't it? That's what I'm saying. It's a satanic deception. The voice of New Zealand Jewish Council spokesperson, Juliet Moses, brims with cool outrage when she explains that the Jewish people have heard this message before. Yeah, they've heard it time and time again. So she calls it anti-Semitism. She states it's anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is at its heart a conspiracy theory, she says. I've read that they actually made that up to stop you from doing that, to speaking out against the Jews, saying anything derogatory, whatever about the Jews, right? But they're allowed to say things. Some Jews feel that they can say derogatory things about you, like that guy from Kramer that time. He's getting hassled. What's it? What do you call it? Henpecked, haggled by some guy in the audience who happened to be black. So he was using the N-word on him because he got frustrated, right? And his career was over. For saying the N-word. Okay. It's anti-Semitism is at its heart a conspiracy theory, she says. It sees Jews as a shadowy, nefarious cabal controlling the world events and people in accordance with the evil agenda. Well, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, international Jewry is defined as these Zionists trying to take over the world, right? Their new world order. They want a new world order. They want to control everything, right? She says it's insidious poison. She felt like she needed a shower after watching the video, she says. For some of the audience, Te Kahika crossed the line on June 4. The comments section is littered with sorry I'm out and mate you just completely lost me. And so the next day in a 15-minute broadcast, Te Kahika appeared to take a step back in his tone. I have some dear Israeli friends I'd love to visit there, he says, before finishing with a final swipe at the Jewish nation. Israel is a political system that's as abusive as any we've ever seen. From there, Te Kahika's live videos seem to drop the subject, at least in public. Right. Here's some more information here. Conspiracy theorist, freethinkers. Jewish spiritual leader Yaakov Brown welcomed all guests to his home with a plate of dense sesame seed confection known as akva halva, an Israeli specialty. Dressed in the yarmulke skullcap and the white kittel of the Judaic religion, he explains he's nervous recalling his encounter with Te Kahika. He fears an anti-Semitic backlash. I want people to know I'm only repeating what I can clearly remember, says Brown. On June 30, Brown was invited by the founder of the Maori Initiatives Charitable Trust, Steve Hutana, to a Zoom meeting with Te Kahika and 10 religious leaders. Brown aimed to challenge Te Kahika's earlier statement on Israel and clarify his position on religious issues. The conversation started civilly enough, but soon became heated after the two disagreed about the history of the Jewish nation. The next thing he said was, "We all know whose money controls the world, so we inferred that we Jews control the world banking system." That's the line that Adolf Hitler used. Billy went on to say that the Rothschilds were Satanists and that Israel was a part of the bigger picture. He was essentially saying Jews control the world, all the same anti-Semitic crap I've heard since I was born. Brown made a social media post about the meeting the next day, receiving both support from the Jewish community and condemnation from some of Te Kahika's followers. I wanted to just say, hey, this is the reality. I think this man is dangerous. I almost instantaneously started getting abuse from people, public posts, some of which I had to delete because I didn't want them to be seen. What worries Brown is the rhetoric can be seen in two ways, both as anti-Semitism and legitimate criticism of the state of Israel. I've got no problem with people criticising the government of Israel if their criticism is factual and honest. Yeah, there you go. But there's enough of what he's saying to denote a much darker underlying ideal. Massey University's Dr. Paul Spoonley, an expert on the far right and hate groups, says it's the merger of anti-Semitism into conspiracy theories that make it such a dangerous force, especially because in these uncertain times conspiracy theories are attractive to many. Got to have something to moan about and point your finger at. Use someone else as a scapegoat. Point the finger, right? You. You're the cause of my problems. We've got to acknowledge the anxiety that's associated with the pandemic, so people are looking for alternative views that make sense of the world. We need a story, a narrative, and we need a target, a scapegoat. That's just what I said. And Te Kahika says Spoonley is an enticing messenger, a charming, empathetic speaker giving voice to those who feel forgotten. When you start getting conspiratorial views alongside hostility towards minority, ethnic and religious groups, then it's always a formula for disaster. It is hate speech, what he's saying. If it's the truth, is it hate speech? You know, some people are like, I unfairly got labelled because I gave a real account of history, right? Of the German history, World War II, right? Yeah, and I was called anti-Semite, racist, all this sort of stuff. The guy had no idea about the history. He hadn't done his research. But yeah, he was fast enough, you know, pointing the finger, and then he tried to get other people, recruit other people. Oh, look, he's an anti-Semite. Oh, you know, this guy wasn't even Jewish. So he tried to get these other people on board, right? So to them, you know, it looks like it, but they didn't actually say, yeah. Oh, one did, but the other one didn't, in Australia. So, okay. Apparently this guy uses Kahika uses a hoax letter revealed as a joke by French satirist Leo Taxil to connect Freemasonry and the Jewish people in the global master plan. There's even a reference to an obscure theory now debunked by genetic studies that the European Jewish population has no ancestral ties to Israel. Khazarians, probably he's pointing his fingers at the Khazarians, I think. I read the history of the Khazarians, like they were a massive nation the size of Russia, and they're under attack by the Crusaders on the left apparently, and the Muslims on the right, Mohammedans on the right. So this king, for the sake of his people, he's like, well, if I go with Christianity, the Crusaders, whatever, they'll invade, you know, blah blah blah. If he sides with the Crusaders, the Christians, right, then Islam on the right will come and invade them and give them help. So if he chose the alternative way of Islam, the Christians on his left will come and invade, right, and give them help. So he decided to go neutral, and they had like a few Jews living there at the time, right, and they were liked, respected, whatever. So he and they taught them some Jewish stuff, traditions, whatever. So what he did was, for the sake of the people, he embraced it. He took on Judaism. Okay, so they became neutral, and they spread out, and they started calling themselves Jews. That's history. Go and do your personal research. Okay, so I try to be as honest as I can because I've adopted a policy. Being honest is the best policy, right? And that's the whole thing about the Real Truth Convocation on YouTube as well. Real Truth TV, but I changed the name because there's thousands of Real Truth TVs on YouTube, so I want to be different than I'll be trying, right? But basically that's my mission, is to reveal the real truth. Okay, enough of the huff and the puff and the fluff, right? And all the BS, all the hype, in the major religions. It's time that somebody spoke out. Okay, so that's why I'm studying the supposed original Aramaic New Testament. Okay, that what's his name? Thomas and another disciple, when they fled Jerusalem, Jerusalem church was destroyed, they went across China to India, started up some churches there, and they left these original manuscripts of these priests, appointed high priest, right, of the Apostolic Orthodox Catholicos Church of the East, right? They left them there with them manuscripts, and they hid them for 2,000 years, thereby preserving them. And according to their patriarch in 1957, they were never tampered with. The day they were given, that's the condition. That's how they were. That's how they stayed, right, for 2,000 years. And he was the head patriarch of that church. See, so he testified, and then another person, this Victor N. Alexander, he testifies that they're the original manuscripts, and then you got another person, Andrew Gabriel Roth, who says the same, but he's translated the Eastern Syriac Peshitta as a website. See, so it's established as a fact. Okay, and there's other people out there that will verify, that was the original Church of the East, and the manuscripts, and the original manuscripts, blah blah blah. So it proves that the disciples existed, and that Christ existed, but it's probably not the Christianity of today, the Jesus of today. It's not the Christianity of today where it's all give me all you got, money wise, prosperity churches. They're trying to fleece you, right, of all you got. Okay, so this Maori guy is a real radical. I've never come across this guy. I wonder if he's still out there, trying to push it. All these conspiracy theories. Okay, so you can go read that article and read the protocols yourself. Come to your own understanding of it, formulation, whatever. Okay, so as I said, subscribe to our channel, leave your comments, be mature about them, no nastiness, and give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever, and tinkle that bell so you get the you never miss out on the latest videos. So that's what I'm about. I say whatever's on my mind, right? Could get me in trouble, it usually does, but hey, the truth is out there. It's going to be put out there, man. Coming for you, Christianity, you Islam, you all those other religions, and all your huff and fluff and bullshit, right? To put it bluntly, coming for you. I'm coming for you. Expect us. Expect me. Okay. Catch you later.